All right, so welcome. I'm Emily. I'll be your guide, I guess, your statistics guide this term. So I'm just calling it applied statistics. I know it's elementary applied statistics, but hey, another face. Elementary, we don't need to say that. Makes it sound like it's junior. It's going to be pretty intense. So I'll just call it applied statistics. So my name is, of course, Emily. So many E's. Emily Lee. Used to be Gustafson. So if you're kind of looking at documents, you might say Gustafson sometimes. It's all me. So first thing I want to do is just kind of, well, a little bit about me, I guess. Who cares? Nah. It's the first day, so we already said we're just going to talk and it's going to be easy. Right, so I'm Emily, and I did my undergrad in math, and then I did my master's in statistics. And so both at UBCO in Kelowna. And we already talked about it too, that I'm in Edmonton. So that's why the clock is 1 hour ahead. So don't get excited when you look at my clock. It's very confusing. But anyways, let's see, what else? Yeah, master's in stats. And here we are. Been teaching for about 5 years now. And I used to work at a market research firm doing stats, but I like teaching more. So here we are. What else? Let me show you around our Moodle page. You found the class, so you did it. You found it. Oh yeah, market research is really fun. It can be pretty intense because of all the deadlines, but it's really fun. All right, so I want to show you. So I looked down a lot because I'm working on my fancy iPad here, and I don't know how to write without looking down. So anyways, here we go. I pulled up our Moodle page. So this is a cross-listed course. It's Stat 230, but it's also Biology 202. But I think there's only 5 of you guys from the biology one. Everyone else is in Stat 230. It's all going to be the same anyways. So I just am using the joint Moodle page. So hopefully you all have access to this. I went ahead and I hid the other ones just so it's not so confusing. But if I don't know how you would have gotten here if you didn't have access to the Moodle page. So I think we're safe. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to put kind of key information at the top, of course, my name, my email. I also put my cell phone number on there, right? And so the reason I do that is because if you're working on a question and you're having trouble with it, you've probably, written something on paper, you're probably working on something, right? And so what I find the easiest way to ask a question is if you just take a picture and then you text it to me and say, hey, I can't figure this out, where am I going wrong? And so I just find that it's a really just a quicker way of asking questions. And it also makes it a little bit quicker, because if you sit down to type out an email, you always, or typically you feel like you have to say, oh, hello, Emily, how are you doing? I'm working on this question, and it just becomes very formal and not very quick, right? So instead of kind of spending time doing that, then I'd rather that you just ask the question, and so you can just text it to me. I don't want you to worry about, oh, it's too late to text her. It's totally fine. I'm an adult. I can decide when it's appropriate to respond and when it's not appropriate. So I don't want you to worry about that. Just if you have a question, send it my way, and we'll work through it. So I don't have office hours, because what was happening was I was always available by text, and people would just kind of ask me whenever it worked. And then I would sit here all alone for an hour and a half, and it was a complete waste of time. So that's okay. I prefer that you just ask questions as you're working through problems. So that's why I say it's by appointment. But really, you can just send me an email or text me and say, hey, I'm working on this problem. It's kind of big. Can we meet? And we would just meet in this room here. I like to just use the same room. I know it's kind of, I'm supposed to have a password, I think. I don't. I just use the same room for all my classes, all my kind of office hours. If I'm meeting one-on-one with a student, I'll try to set up the waiting room so we don't get disturbed, but it's usually not a problem. So sometimes I'll have other classes in here, but this is kind of my classroom, I guess. Okay, so let's see here. I didn't send out an announcement, but I might send out an announcement, and that's how I would contact you guys. So what I might do is I might send out like a test announcement to make sure that you get it after class, if I remember, just to make sure that you've got it going to the right email, right? So the Zoom link is going to be the same all term, so that doesn't change, or the meeting ID is going to be the same all term. And then I've got the link to the lecture videos on YouTube. There's nothing there yet, but I'm going to click it just to show you. So I've created a playlist for us. Okay, so after class, the videos have to process a little bit, so it takes a little bit of time. And then I download it and then I upload it to YouTube. It's kind of a weird setup, but it works. And so the lectures will be available after class, and also the notes. So these, kind of slow here. These notes that I write here, I'll make a PDF of them and I'll post them on Moodle right away after class. So you'll always have these. So even if you miss a class, you'll have the notes, you'll have the video, and it'll be like you didn't miss a thing. For that reason, you do not have to come to class, right? Class would be for you to ask questions and just kind of, I don't know, for me to sit down and watch a video that's an hour and a half long, oh, barf. But going to class for an hour and a half, that's fine. Isn't that so funny? So, right? So it just is, yeah, it's up to you. Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, unless YouTube removes them, they should just stay on YouTube forever, and I'll be a dinosaur. I've been posting videos all of my lectures for 3, potentially 4 years now. So there's a lot of videos, and I think I hit 100 subscribers yesterday. So I'm not going to be a YouTube star anytime soon, but I'm working on it. You could be, let me see. How can I tell? Oh, it's because I'm not. 104 subscribers. Cha-ching. So here's all my lectures from, I don't know how long ago. Yeah, and I've taught this same material a lot. In fact, if you go to The Stat 121, 124 playlist covers most of the material that we're going to cover. We're going to go a little bit beyond it, but not a whole bunch. Okay, so it's all here. Yikes. Oh yeah. Yeah, so if you're commuting, then that is really useful. Yeah. Oh yeah, it looks like I've got my 105th subscriber. Woo, woo. The race is on. So anyways, yes, keep going, guys. So anyways, so we do have a playlist. There's nothing there yet, but if you want to check out the other videos, that's great too. The Stat Labs, there's a Stat Labs playlist as well that we might be making use of. I do want to incorporate some R, which is a programming language, a statistical programming language. So I do want to get you guys introduced to R at least, and just so you have the basics. And so those Stat Labs, I think, are from 2018. So they're a little outdated, but I mean, in general, nothing has really changed with the basics. So you can kind of check those out. See how you feel. Okay, go back here. So that's where I'll be posting the lecture videos. If for some reason you cannot access YouTube, then let me know and I'll set up some other way of sharing the videos. But hopefully, I use YouTube because it is so accessible, but if you do have a hard time, then just let me know and I'll get them to you some other way. We are using a free textbook. Can you believe it? They just released the new edition, the 4th edition. So I've used this textbook quite a bit. And now they changed it. They made it's better, but I have to get used to the layout a little bit. So I posted the PDF here, but you can also just go, it's thinking. You can also just Google Open Intro statistics and it'll take you to the website and you can download it. Oh, there was. Oh. There shouldn't have been. Then we can talk about that after it. So if you bought a textbook, let me know after. We can talk about that after class, because that's not good. Well, it's good. And I'm sure it's not a bad thing, but anyways, let me know. But here's the textbook that we're going to use. And oh, did they put am I one of the authors of that one? The textbook that you bought? I think so. It's the same one. Yeah. It's just been rearranged. So yeah, don't worry. That's fine. That's good. And I know that one because I'm an author, but it's really just this textbook, a little bit moved around. So that's totally fine. And it's nice to have a hard copy. So this one, I think you can order a hard copy. So a printed copy, I think they're like $20 US. But I just use the PDF version and I find that that's fine. So this 4th edition is tablet friendly, I guess. So I don't know what that means, but they're claiming that it's tablet friendly. And here I am on a tablet and it seems friendly enough. So this is the textbook. and I posted it there. There's also a link in the course outline to the download page, which I posted the course outline on here, and we're going to work through it now. I haven't done the whole term, I only did this week, but what you can expect to see on our Moodle page is a block for each week that we work through. Okay, and so what I like to do is I like to tell you each day what we plan on going through. Today, I think we're just going to do introductions. I was feeling a little enthusiastic and thinking we would get into chapter 1, but I think we'll hold off and start chapter 1 tomorrow. Weird, we meet on Thursdays, Fridays. It's weird. So, and just a little blip on Fridays. But anyways, so we'll just do introductions today and just go through the course outline, and that'll be good. But you can flip through chapter 1 for tomorrow. Just flip through it. I'll walk you through it anyways. All right. So any questions before we start going through the course outline? All right, cool. So I'll grab this here. Or text me anytime. 250-864-8386. Okay. Oh, that doesn't look very nice, does it? Still not nice, but you get the idea. I always have my phone on silent, so unless it's the day before a test, then I turn my ringer on. And so I might not get it right away, but usually, you know, I'm on my phone, so. And don't call me because I won't pick up. It's weird. I don't talk on the phone. So that's that. Okay, so like I said, office hours are truly just anytime. You can just let me know and I'll tell you if I'm available. Oh, so someone couldn't find it on Moodle. So here we go. It's got a weird name. It's this like XLS082022130, stat 230. Because it's cross-listed. Let me know if you couldn't find it still. Okay. So really anytime you have a question, anytime is fine. Still waiting to hear about that Moodle situation, but I'll keep going until then. So of course, you know when class is because you're here, so that's good. The calendar description is just from when you registered in the course, so we'll skip that. If you need to transfer, there's transfer information here. It's the BC transfer guide. So if you plan on, because I know this is kind of a science course, so a lot of people do the first 2 years of sciences with us at the college, and then they transfer to university. So if you're planning on doing that, it is transferable to most institutions, but just check the transfer information here if that's what you plan on doing. So then I've got the textbook, and like I said, I've got the download page here, and let's see. Internet's so slow. I noticed. So we're going to use the statistics one. There's also a biostatistics that they just released. So that might be fun. I think it goes through pretty well the same materials, but maybe with a biology focus. So what I might do is I might steal some examples from there and just kind of bring in kind of more biostats because it doesn't hurt. The fun part about statistics is it doesn't matter what you're doing statistics about, the procedure is always the same, right? So it can be biology, it can be physics, chemistry, whatever, and it can be financial, or what else? I don't know. You can do stats on anything, right? But a lot of the time it's business related, right? And so as long as we have the tools, then we can apply it to any field that we want to, right? So I'm going to try to show you kind of the breadth of all the concepts that we're learning. So here you can go, and we're just using the most popular one, which is the basic open intro statistics. Okay, so you would download it there, and let's see here. Okay. I'll bring this into our notes. Although I'm not sure the link would work anymore, but that's okay. I was going to make a note about the textbook. So if you did buy that textbook from the bookstore, then let me know, and I'll get you sorted out. But if you haven't bought the textbook, that's great. You can just download this one and have a free one. All right, so there. What else? What else? Oh, course evaluation, that's important. All right, let me bring this whole kit and caboodle in. Oops. Okay. We're gonna have, I've made it kind of cryptic, assignments / quizzes. And the reason for that is because there are some questions that I want you to spend longer on and just kind of working on, and maybe, you know, using all your resources on. And so those I would give you more time to do, and I would call those assignments. Whereas if it's something, you know, kind of a quick multiple choice situation, I would call that a quiz, and you would have a limited time to do it, right? And so it depends. So it kind of depends on where we're at in the course, what's going to be more appropriate. So I'm keeping it kind of vague, or really vague, and calling them just assignments / quizzes, and it's going to make up 40% of your grade. Okay. There are going to be 2 tests. So here, test times 2. So for 30%, which means, of course, that they're 15% each. Okay. Usually, right, the first test is maybe a little bit easier, but then the second test, it depends on, you know, what you prefer, but they're going to be worth the same. So but in the past, people have felt like, okay, test 1 was way easier than test 2, but they're worth the same. And I do that, you know, for a reason. So because I want your grades to be good, I'm not out to get you or anything. if you work hard, you will have a good grade in this course. Okay, so, and then of course, we're going to have a final exam, and it's cumulative. So it's everything that we've covered throughout the term. And it is going to be worth 30%. So I'd say pretty good if you've got your assignments and your tests under control, then a 30% final exam. Typically final exams are 40%, right? But because we're online, we decided to kind of spread it out more because it just felt weird to have a really heavy final exam. So only 30%. The tests are going to be during our class time, right? So you'll have to, like I said, you don't have to come to class every day, but you do have to come to class for test days because that's when you'll be writing the test. We'll talk more about what I expect from you during the test, right? But I will need to be watching you while you write it, that kind of thing. And so, but we'll talk more about that closer to a test, right? And then I'm a little bit behind, but I'll have the test dates posted on Moodle by next week. So then I'll have it all sorted out and planned out and ready to go. So you'll be all prepared. Like I said, the final exam is cumulative, right? And it'll be during the, the final exam is online. So it'll also be online just during the final exam time. Yeah. Yeah, so this term, an online course, as far as I know, is going to be all online. I know they want to move towards having in-person finals, but we haven't gotten there. Objective or subjective? I don't know, that question feels too clever. I still don't, it's going to be theoretical, but also with some written questions. Does that answer your question? Yeah, I thought so. So the final exam schedule is usually available about halfway through the semester. We can't change your exam time if you have to travel, for example. Because we're online, I don't anticipate a lot of problems with that this term, right? But if you have to travel, then you'll have to wait until the final exam schedule is posted so that you can be available for your final exam. Okay. What else? What else? So in the course outline, there are a set of 15 learning outcomes. These are not going to make sense today, right? But they are really nice to have at the end of the course. So what I'll do at the end of the course is I'll bring these learning outcomes up, and then we'll talk about them, and we can highlight all the things that we have learned or should know at that point, right? And so it's good to kind of check in and say, oh, I actually know how to do that now, or at least I understand what that is now. So learning outcomes don't make sense on the first day. That's okay. They will. We're going to cover chapters 1 through 8 in the textbook. There are a few sections in there that I'm going to skip because they're kind of a little too nitty-gritty for us. But for the most part, we're going to work our way through chapters 1 through 8. Okay. And like I said, they kind of change the order. So that doesn't matter to you. It matters to me because I'm all used to the chapters and and how they used to be laid out, and now they've changed it, but that's okay. It's better. It's way better. So we're going to work through that. Nothing really to talk about there. These are general department policies. Again, some of these don't apply because we're working online, but they're just general policies. Of course, any assignments or quizzes that are overdue get a grade of 0. I'll see if I can do it with a penalty. I think I can assign some sort of penalty, but I'm not 100% sure because I haven't done it in a long time and they just changed Moodle. So we'll see. I think I can though. It's pretty basic stuff. So I might be able to set it up so that you can hand it in, but with a small penalty for each day or whatever, because things happen, things come up. Okay. In terms of tests though, if you miss a test, I'll have to put the weight of that on the final. Okay. And so because we're not going to make up tests, it just sets us back too much. And so if you miss a test, I'll just put the weight of that on the final, which is not great, right? Because it puts a lot of pressure on your final exam. So like I said, it says that you're expected to attend all classes. In our case, because I'm posting the video and the notes, it just means that I expect you to stay on top of this material, right? I'll post for each day which sections we're going to work through in the textbook. And so you'll have a really good idea of where you should be at, right? So you can really stress out about how much reading you have to do, right? But so you'll be really clear on where you should be at, right? And my expectation is that you stay on top of that, however that looks like for you, right? Whether it's coming to class or if it's just watching the videos on your own, that's fine. Here's one that's kind of interesting sometimes. It's never been an issue, but people closer to the final exam, they start freaking out about this one. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not something to worry about. Okay, but you do have to get a grade of at least 45% on the final exam, right? Even if you're passing without the final exam, you still have to write the final exam and get at least 45% in order to pass the course overall, right? It's basically saying you have to pass the final to pass the course. Right, and that's a pretty fair thing, I think. So, and it's never a problem, right? For someone who's going to pass the course, they're going to pass the final, right? So it's not something to worry about, but I do want to point it out so that we're all aware. Okay. You're allowed any calculator. You just are not allowed to use your cell phone as a calculator, right? So you do have to have a calculator. We're not going to do anything crazy. For bigger calculations, we're going to use software, right? And so I use this one most of the time, but I know I'm not allowed a graphing calculator, but here I have it. I love it. But I use this one most of the time, right? So if you have a favorite calculator, you get to use it. It says it has to be non-graphing. That makes no sense. We're using software. So of course you can have a graphing calculator if you want to, but that's just my policy. You will have a formula sheet, right? So in fact, it's kind of weird because when we're online, right, I will have all the tests will be open book because I don't see any point in trying to not have them be open book. So any hard copy materials you'll have access to, okay? And you will be allowed to use any hard copy materials. So I'll give you a formula sheet. It's a good jumping off point, but make sure that your notes are really organized and that you can reference them easily. And you'll be fine. And of course, the final exam will be cumulative, like we said. In terms of these important dates, I'm going to bring these in here. if you're anything like me, when I was a student, the first thing I did in my planner was write down all the holidays. That's important, right? All your days off. So if you haven't done that already, I'm not sure what kind of a student you are. You need to know when your days off are, right? So classes begin. Congratulations, we did it. Okay, moving on. So the last day to drop a course without a W on your transcript, to switch classes, anything like that is next Friday. Okay, so notice next Friday has a lot of stuff happening here. Okay, so that's kind of decision time. Do you want to be in this course or not, right? And then after that, you're locked in. We've got a new holiday on September 30th. It's a Thursday. Hey, we meet on Thursdays, so we won't have class that day. And then October 11th, Thanksgiving. We don't meet on Mondays, doesn't matter. Other classes though. This one's important. I only point this out because sometimes people aren't aware, right? And so the last day to withdraw with a W, so without academic penalty, is October 29th. That's really late, right? That's really late into the course. By that time, you have a really good idea of whether you're going to be able to pass or fail the course, right? And so I will say this, everyone has a bad term at some point. And so if this term is that for you, then I'm sorry, it sucks, but everyone has a bad term at some point, and things just happen, right? And so if you feel like you're not going to pass the course, no matter how hard you try, then it's better to withdraw with a W. And the reason for that is because a W does not count towards your GPA, right? Whereas an F would bring down your GPA. And so you have to make a strategic decision by October 29th. Okay, so I just like to point that out because it's not always obvious, right? Then we have Remembrance Day, the Thursday, which is a holiday, which is followed by a Friday off as well. It's kind of like a little midterm break on November 12th. And then we go till December 6th. And then we have final exams. It's going to be sometime between December 8th and December 18th. We'll find out, right? No midterm. We have 2 tests. So I don't like to call it a midterm, because a midterm, there should only be one midterm, right? Midterm. We have 2 tests. We can call them like a check-in of your knowledge, if you prefer. Yeah. People get really upset when you call them like exams. Oh, scary. No, we can call them quizzes. Ooh, easy. Yeah, celebration of learning. I like that one. Yeah, that's good. So two celebrations of learning. Good. So good to know when all our days off are, but also, of course, kind of key dates to keep in mind. All right. Here's kind of the standard information package. So I'm not going to bring this into our notes, but they are here. And there are a lot of resources available to you through the college. The first one is the Success Center. They always change the name. It used to be the Learning Center, now it's the Success Center. I think it's been the Learning and Success Centers. They cannot decide on a name, but it's free tutoring, okay? And they do have statistics tutors, and so they will know what you're talking about, right? And so someone contacted me from the Learning Center and asked if we wanted to have a little presentation where they just kind of show you how to access it. So there are in-person tutors, but also online tutors, of course. And so I'll have them come in probably the week after next, okay, when we have a little bit more handle on the material, and tutoring might sound more more enticing. Free tutoring, right? They're paid, so don't worry about that. They're paid by the college already, so you just need to use them, okay? And so there's the link there if you want to check that out, but it's a really nice resource. So let's see here. For the final exam, like I said, do not book any flights or anything until you know when our final exam is, because we can't make any changes, right? And so it's really hard to have it changed, and there's like very few instances where they're going to change the final exam date for a person. Academic integrity, dun dun dun, no cheating. I think so. What I find difficult about academic integrity is all profs are no cheating, no cheating, no cheating. But I remember I've been a student, and sometimes it's hard to know. Like, so I learned this from a textbook, right? I learned this information from a textbook, and now I'm putting it out there as my own. That's allowed, right? But if you're just stealing it off a page, then that's not allowed, right? And so I do find that it can be kind of difficult to know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. But I also feel like we have a pretty good internal judge of what's right and what's wrong, right? But if you find yourself thinking, oh, I'm not actually sure, then you can just ask me about it, right? And sometimes I don't even know. I don't know. And then I'll find out if that's allowed or not. But usually we have a pretty good idea of what's right and what's wrong. But in general, as long as everything that you're giving to me is kind of from your own brain somehow, right? You're safe, okay? As soon as it starts coming from someone else's brain, that's bad, okay? We also have the college student conduct policies. Basically, just be nice to each other, be nice to me, right? We should just be nice. It's easy. So that's that. There are also things like accessibility services. So if you have some sort of learning disability, or if you just find that you are always running out of time on tests, for example, right, then you can talk to them and see if there's anything that they can help you out with, right? Because those resources are there, and they have their own kind of policies for what they can accommodate and what they can't. But I'm happy to set you up with them if that's what you're finding. Okay. There's also counseling services, again, free, and so they're already paid for, and you may as well use them if you find that you need help in any area, and that's non-academic as well, right? And so kind of personal career counseling, study skills, there are people there to help you with those skills, right? And so that is good. Okay. There's our course outline. I'll keep it in the course outline, but I feel like we've highlighted the most important parts. What I want to do is instead of starting chapter 1, I want to make sure that we're all set up with what R and R Studio. And so for this course, we will be learning, and my handwriting is not good. I wish I could say it gets better throughout the term, but it doesn't. Maybe a little bit better, but not much. I don't know what to do. I've tried. Sometimes in the summer I'll practice and then it doesn't get better. Yeah, you'll get used to it for sure. But if there is something that I've written and you're like, I don't see what she's written there, then just let me know. Okay. Like this. Learning. So we'll be learning the programming language R. It's just a capital R. Okay. And it's free. And that's why we use it. Right, but it's also kind of industry standard at this point. When I first started teaching and I said, oh, I want to teach my students R, they thought, no, you're insane. And this was at UBC. I started teaching at UBC Okanagan. And so I was teaching there for a while, and then I switched to the college. And so, and I still go back and teach there sometimes, but I'm here full time. So they said, no, you're crazy. You can't teach that. It's so hard. And it is really hard. Okay. But what's happened is after I've taught it at the college and people go to the university, they've actually come back and said, I'm so glad you taught me R, because that's all they're using up there. And that's the case for all universities. And I know, if you're planning on transferring, then that'll be really useful. And then there was one year that I guess they didn't use R, teach R, and someone actually came back. So I'm usually in a shared office, and a student came back to tell us that we should really be teaching R, because it would have been really useful. So we are learning R. And I will say it is a really difficult thing to learn, okay, especially if you don't have any programming language skills. But we're going to start from the very, very bottom, okay, and just kind of work our way through slowly. Hey, if you've used Python, you're well on your way. So if you have some sort of programming language, then this will be a lot easier for you. But I have to assume that you have no programming experience. Hey, nice. So we've got people who've used it before. Nice. But don't worry, if you've never even heard of R, that's fine. That's where we're going to start. Okay. Yeah. People. Yeah. We've got kind of a wide spread here. Oh yeah, I've used it. And people are feeling like, I don't know anything. That's okay. That's where we'll start. Okay. If you've used it before, I encourage you to help your peers. Right. That's what knowledge is for. And so we're going to use R. R itself, you can program in just R, but it's kind of nasty. It's how I had to learn, because R Studio didn't exist yet. But what we do is R is the brain, and then we download R Studio, and that's how we access R. Okay, and so we're going to be working in R Studio. But working in R Studio. Okay. But the language that we're using, and so this is just to help you sound like you know what you're talking about, right? We're working in our studio, but the language that we're learning is just R. Okay. And once you know R, what's really powerful is R is kind of the hardest one to learn. If you know R, then learning things like Python and learning things like SAS are quite reasonable. I'm not going to say easy because they're all, a little bit hard, but learning things like other languages is going to be a lot easier if you have this first hard language. Okay. So I'll be incorporating R code into our classes, right? And sometimes I'll expect you to show me some work in R for assignments, for example, right? And so you'll notice that there is no lab component for this course, but I'm just going to bake it in because I think it's really important. We can't just, what did we call this course? We called it applied statistics. So we can't just do theory. That makes no sense, which is something that has been done in the past, but it makes no sense to me. So we're going to apply it with R. Okay. So what I want you to do is, I guess for next class, when do we meet? Tomorrow? Oh my gosh. It's crazy. Try to have R and R Studio installed. And so what I'll point you towards is this first video. Where is it? Hopefully I don't start talking here. Lab 0. Okay, and I'll post the link directly to this video. It's only 7.5 minutes long. Sounds reasonable. Like I said, it is from, I think 2018. So some things have changed, of course, but in general, it should be a pretty good guideline of how to get things installed on your computer. We can work on a PC, we can work on a Mac, it doesn't matter. I'm a fully Apple operation here, but I know most people are like, you can't work on Apple. Yeah, you can. It's fine. We survive. And yeah, things are different, but I think we're all mature enough to understand that it all works out, right? Here, I'll try to make it pause there. So there I am, just a young child installing R in our studio. Hey, 3 likes. It's pretty good. Yeah, 7.5 minutes, and it just installs R and R Studio. It's really important that you install R first, but then we never access it. We never go to R. We just have to have it installed so the brain is installed, and then we install R Studio, and that's how we access things. Okay. So what I want you to do, just to prove to me that you're all set up, is I want you to, so for tomorrow, I want you to install R. Then install R Studio. Yeah. And I'll put links, I think, to those, but you can just Google R Studio and it just kind of takes you there. And I think that's what I do in the video, is I just kind of Google it and go for it. Right. And so I'm going to switch my screen that I'm sharing to show you what I want you to do next. And remember, this will be in the video, so you can always refer back to it. But I want you to get set up for tomorrow. So install RStudio, and then what I want you to do is I want you to create a new markdown. Oops. Document. Okay. It's going to be an HTML document. That's the default, and that's good for us for now. It's the easiest one. Okay. Markdown is also a language, but it's like the easiest typesetting language. So things like if you want to make bullets, you program that in, right? And so if you want it to be numbered, you can just program it in and it'll just change the numbers, much like Word does. But once you've used Markdown, you're going to find that Word is really clunky, and you're not going to want to use it anymore. But that's okay. It's good. So you're going to create a new Markdown document, and I'll show you the ropes on kind of mark down some common Markdown elements that we're going to use. But for now, you're just going to create a new Markdown document, and I'm going to show you how that goes. And then once you have an HTML generated, you're going to upload it to Moodle. But I'll make that for tomorrow, right? For today, that's all I want you to kind of struggle through, and then upload the .html document to Moodle. Okay. I'll count it as an assignment. It's going to be the easiest assignment you've ever done. So I'm going to switch sharing screens here. Okay. Here we go. Wow. Yeah, you're going to upload it to Moodle. I haven't set up a Dropbox yet because I just decided to do it today. I was going to put it off, but why not? Okay. Share my whole desktop, I guess. Can get confusing. So once you have R and RStudio installed, which I go through in that video, you're going to have an icon that looks something like this, although I need to do an update. So it might be fancier now, but probably not. And it's going to take forever to open. Come on. Hey, it says "be found Sarah" now in the captions. All right. How do I move the stuff around? Okay, so when you open it, like I said, I have to do an update because I guess I haven't updated since a 2019 edition. It's a long time ago. But once you open it, it should look something like this. Okay. And so what you're going to do is you're going to start a new document up here and a new R Markdown. Now, there are a lot of different types of documents that we can do. And that's because R works with C++, it works with Python, it works with SQL, it works with LaTeX. And so there's a lot of cool things that we can do. But for us, we're just going to start with a Markdown file. It's like the easiest thing that we can do. Okay. So once you start an R Markdown, we're going to do a document. So that's the default. And I'm going to call it Markdown test. Okay. I'm the author, of course. And the default output format is going to be HTML. right? You can output to PDF and you can output to Word, which is nice. You have to have Word installed on your computer, but if you're outputting to Word, hopefully you do. To output to PDF, you're going to need to download a LaTeX package. It's quite large, so I don't really want to make you do that right now. So that's why we're going to work to HTML. It's basically going to generate a web page. Okay. So then you hit OK. Oh, hello. So notice here the title is now Markdown Test. That's what I changed it to. You can change it in here. Just make sure that you've got the little quotes around it. But for now, all I want is whatever the default is. Okay. I want you to notice that it's called Untitled 1. So you're going to want to change that and save it to somewhere where you know where to access it. So you're going to hit save. Let's see here. Save. It's thinking. And so instead of untitled, I'm going to call it Markdown Test. One thing that I will say is it does not like spaces, and I think it doesn't even like periods. So either underscores, or I like to use camel type, where I just smush two words together and capitalize the first letter, right? Just like this. So I just keep it one word. And so just name it whatever you want, but no spaces, and probably no points, no periods. And let's see here. I'll put it on the desktop. Why not? Maybe, yeah, that's good. Just save it somewhere where you know where to find it later and hit save. Okay. So now it should say Markdown Test up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to, it's really cute, knit this document. Okay, so, and we'll talk more about the components here later, but we're going to knit this document together, and you hit knit. And what you'll see is that it starts thinking down here in the lower left. Okay, so that's the brain going, bup, 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 and ta-da, it produces this, this file, this beautiful web page, right? So this is an HTML file. And if I show you my desktop here, can I zoom in here? Maybe not. How do I make it all old person zoomed in? Notice that there's an RMD file, so that's the kind of weird looking one that we generated. And then there's the markdown test.html. So every time you knit it, it's going to update that HTML file, and this is where you find it. And so that HTML file is going to open on a web page, right? If you click it, and that's good. And so that HTML file is the one that you're going to upload to Moodle once I set up the Dropbox, right? And so it's just to show me that you're all set up. It doesn't really require any knowledge yet, right? But eventually we're going to change all this default text and graphics and whatever to something about our data, right? So that's what I want you to do for that. Now I'm going to stop sharing here. Okay. So let me see here. I'm going to start sharing this screen again, because now hopefully this will make more sense. Okay. Right. So of course, to start, you're going to have to install our studio. And if you have a hard time with that, just let me know tomorrow and we can work through that, or later today if you just want to meet on here, and if it's giving you grief, then we can definitely do that. But it does take a little bit of time. So try it, and then try to have it installed and create a new Markdown document to HTML, and then upload that document to Moodle. Right? So I'll post that Dropbox, and it's good for today. Any questions? Aw, that's so sweet. So if you don't have any questions, then you're free to go, and I'll see you tomorrow. But otherwise, I'll be here if you have any questions. See you. I'll stop the recording.